The average Shopify store converts 1.4% of its traffic. Conversion rate optimization, CRO. They think it's just about getting people to click to add to cart. What do people get wrong about what CRO actually is?
What CRO really is about saying ultimately three things: buy now, buy more, and buy again. Buy now is about effectively your conversion rate. The first time people visit your store from whatever source of traffic they come from, do they actually buy?
As the force behind an award-winning CRO agency and co-creator of the Ecom Collab Club, Adam Pierce, co-founder of Blend Commerce, has spent nearly a decade driving measurable growth for leading Shopify brands.
When should you think about CRO?
Are there maybe two or three things that absolutely will work every time? I'm going to tell you what they are right now. And the first one of which here is invest in your site search.
What are the wins that you would tell them to look at right away?
First of all, your call to action button. Directly below that call to action button needs to be an absolute killer value prop. A lot of people who think that subscribe and save is the best thing ever. Guys, it is not 2012.
The average Shopify store converts 1.4% of its traffic, which means out of every 100 people that visit your store, roughly 99% of them are leaving without buying anything. It's actually crazy. If you think about any retail store, imagine 99% walking in and then just walking right back out. It would be crazy. You're spending so much money on ads, email, SEO, you're driving all this traffic and almost all of it walks out the door. But what most people get wrong, here's actually what most people get wrong about fixing that number, is they think that conversion rate optimization, CRO, so I'm going to use that word CRO a little bit today because I have the CEO of a CRO company on with me. They think it's just about getting people to click to add to cart. But my guest today is Adam Pierce. He's the CEO of Blend Commerce, and he says that only a third, CRO is only about a third of the picture. So he's got this framework that looks at three things, which I'm really excited to get into. It's how do you get people to buy more and buy again? And his team at Blend Commerce has won CRO Agency of the Year in the UK, Europe, and I think globally in 2025. We'll clarify that if I have that stat wrong, but they're really good. That's the bottom line of that stat. So today we're going to we're going to break down exactly what CRO is versus what most people think it is, and when you need it, and how to know what to test, and what specific changes are driving the most conversion, and all of that fun stuff. So, Adam, welcome here. Thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, you too. And look, I think we were saying before we started recording, look, we've been in the Shopify space for a long time together now, and our paths have crossed occasionally, but good to be here and actually chatting to you properly.
Likewise. So most Shopify merchants, they hear the term CRO and they just think it's A/B testing, button colors, and conversion rate optimization. And you won the CRO Agency of the Year. And then you wrote a blog post that was titled, "We're not a CRO agency." Something along to that extent. So what do people get wrong about what CRO actually is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the thing for me, and the reason I wrote that article is because when CRO started, sort of late 80s, early 90s, it was a bunch of bearded guys looking at data, and it effectively was a data science activity. The problem was that with that is that it was quite complex to understand and then make it and turn it into a practical way. And what happened is that, look, people took the idea of it and flexed it completely the opposite direction to what now happens till a lot of the time when I meet people, it's like, oh, you're the guy that changes button colors. So ultimately, what CRO really is about saying ultimately, like we mentioned at the start there, three things. You as a owner of an e-commerce business can pull three levers to increase the revenue of your business. It's getting people coming to the site to buy now, it's getting them to buy more, or it's getting them to buy again. And realistically, those are the only three things you can do. CRO helps you pull each of those levers when you need it, depending what your store is doing.
So walk me through this. You call it the trifecta. You have a name for that? I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coined?
Yeah, it is. We registered that actually.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of IP for us as well down the line. But I mean, look, ultimately, I think the problem is, and we did this for two levels, is that number one, when you think about CRO, there are so many interpretations of what that meant. And we want it to be very clear to us what it means. And with buy now, buy now, buy more, and buy again, every single business, if people listen to this to show, you would say, well, look, number one, buy now is about effectively your conversion rate. The first time people visit your store from whatever source of traffic they come from, do they actually buy? And like you said there, 1% typically is the typical conversion rate. The days of 3% are gone. It's a lot more competitive than it used to be. So is that a big problem that is creating issues for your revenue? Secondly, buy more, average order value. Are you upselling, cross-selling? Do you offer bundles? Are you offering subscription? All of those kind of areas we need to look at. And finally, are people buying again, i.e. from a retention perspective, repeat order rate, you looking at your LTV, your lifetime value, what's happening there? And if you use the right tools, number one, you'll be able to see, well, which one of those are actually the weakest for our business. And secondly, if I pull the lever of conversion rate or average order value or repeat order value, what actually is going to be the impact to me on a pound or dollar perspective when it comes to my bottom line? So it's just about sort of sitting back a little bit first and saying, what are the levers that we pull? When do we pull it? And how hard do we pull as well?
You call that, is that the metric on fire? Or no, the metric on fire concept, right?
It is.
There's one that is the focus that you should be spending your time and attention on, whichever one is the weakest of the three.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then look, if I started with personal training last year and I lost quite a bit of weight, but ultimately when I went to my personal trainer the first time, he asked me a bunch of questions. And it was, first of all, tell me about the exercise that you do, tell me about the food that you eat, and tell me about the alcohol that you consume. Now, ultimately, he was doing the same thing that what I'm doing for stores. He's looking at me as a human, as a person, saying, to actually create better health for me, which of these levers are the biggest problem? Now, for me, it was the alcohol bit and it was a lack of exercise bit. The food bit was okay. So naturally, he focused on getting me to look at those. We do the same thing with the e-commerce store and get people to focus on the right thing.
So when you look at a brand's data for the first time when they come to you, what are the specific metrics and benchmarks you're looking for to figure out which area they should focus on?
Yeah, sure. So we would start off initially by looking at really the three core ones that we would do. So on a top line conversion rate, top line AOV, and top line repeat purchase rate. First and foremost, what we do is we've got a benchmarking tool that I think, Jay, you will share the details of later. And what happens in here is that actually can, number one, see where you are against your competition within your specific niche. So that's the first point. The second thing, though, is that off the back of that's all well and good. And ultimately, look, industry averages benchmarked, useful to an extent, but the problem is, and this is why I always get frustrated when people say, can we build a site like Gymshark? Can we build a site like Kylie, whatever it might be? Because look, we all know Kylie and Gymshark have a very specific cohort of people shop. They have a very specific community they've built. All these other things around it. So once we've done that benchmarking bit, we then go, actually, you know what? If we look at the site in terms of your GA4, your Shopify analytics or CMS analytics, and your heat mapping that we have, what does the story end tell us in there? Ultimately, what we're looking for is, out of those three metrics, what can we pull based on what your metrics are doing right now and what your visitors are doing, and importantly, are not doing on your site.
Gotcha. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Let's dive into it. I was going to ask you later, but so is it an app they install in their store that or this benchmarking tool, or how does that work?
It's purely, you literally just hit the URL, you put in the URL, you will then put in your key metrics. And what it is then doing is that is then using data from other stores that are in the same effectively Shopify category as you to then benchmark you. What it also does, though, it uses AI to give you 6 or 7 different ideas that we can see actually from the data that we can, I say data, the view of the store right now, of what you could do to give you some thoughts about some of the things you might want to start considering from a CRO point of view. So it's to give you that benchmark view and to start you in that process of thinking, what are some of the things that could be hindering our performance?
Gotcha. What would you say most stores, where's the majority of stores struggling with it? Is it on the getting people to order, getting them to like spend as much as they could be spending, or getting them to reorder more? Where's the biggest opportunity for the app, like most stores?
AOV.
Interesting.
I mean, look, when I do a lot of these kind of, basic analyses, and it is always average order value that tends to be a lot lower in comparison to conversion.
Right.
I think the difficulty is, and this is what comes a lot of the time, is that because of the general discussion around e-commerce and the advice and the groups and the communities is always about conversion, average order value and ultimately increasing basket size often gets forgotten about. I think a lot of the time what I tend to see, and we see this a lot with the brands that work with this, is that, for example, they will have an upsell and cross-sell app. But what they were doing is that they will leave the upsell and the cross-selling down to the app itself, just to purely recommend what it thinks is the most best thing to do. Now, as apps have got better and as it learns your data, they can work very well. But a lot of the time, they are left to be set and forget. I think equally as well, when it comes down to subscriptions, look, Jay, a world that you've obviously been a big part of as well, is that there is still now with subscriptions, a lot of people who think that subscribe and save is the best thing ever. Guys, it is not 2012. And I think a lot of the time, subscriptions are seen as an easy way to lift AOV. In 2016, it was okay. 2026 is not. And having to actually sell the benefits of subscription is something that people go, well, hang on a minute, look, they're saving 5%, 10%. They don't care. They're looking for a benefit. Look at what's happened with subscriptions. It's now not just subscriptions, it's memberships. Because now people have realized that actually subscriptions alone, the benefit of that singularly doesn't actually work. So I would always say that AOV is the stone that is left unturned. People think they're doing it, but a lot of the time there is a lot of weight.
You are preaching my language. I love it. Just out of curiosity, we released a new app yesterday. I don't know did you see it by any chance?
Haven't yet, no.
Okay. If you're on LinkedIn or Twitter, but we have been seeing this exact same trend. I thought you might have said that the biggest challenge for merchants was on the reorder side, because I could definitely see the AOV side. So we've been doing subscriptions since 2014, and we've been seeing that exact what you just said. Like, more brands are struggling right now with subscriptions than ever, and it's like it's still something you want to do. It's not, by no means are we like what I say that subscriptions you shouldn't do, but they're not like it was in 2016 where like you would just put on subscriptions and you would do pretty well. It's become table stakes. Like if you sell cat food, you got to have a subscription. You just have to. It used to be like, I remember when Chewy came out with pet food subscriptions, and it was like, well, this is game changing. Pet food subscriptions. I know. Well, like now try to find a pet food company that doesn't have a subscribe and save option. Like you can't.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, we've noticed that more like subscription fatigue is like higher than it's ever been. Like I was talking to one of my wife's friends the other day, I was telling her about what this new product we're launching. And she said, oh yeah, I canceled all my subscriptions. I don't subscribe to anything anymore. And I was like, I just thought that was interesting, because like that's not something you would have heard someone say in 2015, because subscriptions were novel. They were this new thing. I'll have to show it to you because I think you'll love it. I'll just mention it now, but awesome. I don't want to go into it too much, but it's essentially predictive on-demand subscriptions. So that's called Repeat. It's like P-E-T-E. So Pete is a character. We debated calling him Refill, P-H-I-L. We've been building it for a year, and we've been running it on 50 test stores for 6 months. And literally yesterday we unveiled it. So go on my LinkedIn, you'll see it, but it uses its algorithmic first and then AI second, but it does a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes to predict when a customer might need a refill. And then it nudges them through push, email, SMS, on-site, browser, app, like all different places for a one-click reorder. So they confirm, no checkout, just on demand, and then get smarter each cycle. We had one store during the 6-month test. They also use our subscription app, coincidentally. So I would say about 20% of the stores that tested it were using our subscription app. Some were using others, but a lot of them were using some subscription app because they're doing subscription. So they have a replenishable product. Within 5 months, they actually got to the same point 20%. So they have 20% of their customers were on a fixed subscription. And now 20% of all their repeat revenue is coming through these on-demand reorder nudges. Like, so it just goes to show like customers want the product, but they don't want the subscription, right? Like it's so interesting that like how that's changed. Like there's a tool to do something. The need still exists. Like you still need to put nails in, but people use nail guns now, not a hammer. And like a subscription is one tool, but we try to force everything through it.
Yeah. And I think it's like, regardless, I guess, of where you're in the world, there's been, with obviously what's been happening in the economy and inflation and cost of living in different countries, I think having retail banks encouraging people to look at their subscriptions more carefully, or having built-in features, particularly in the UK, is something that's become quite popular now, where you can sort of actively manage subscriptions. There's been a challenge around that, but I think the churn rates, particularly on products that you would class as more of a luxury necessity, has been a challenge. But I definitely think what you've got there sounds like that could be very interesting. Ultimately, making sure that you are selling more than just the benefit of the product in the way that you go about things could be very useful.
Yep. Yeah. And when people cancel one subscription, they don't just cancel one, they cancel 20 others, right? Like they get frustrated and they go through their credit card and they look at all the subscriptions they have. And back to the CRO stuff. When, for people listening, like when should you think about CRO? Is there, I mean, obviously when you're starting, it probably doesn't make sense. You need to focus on different challenges, but is there a point where you're like, okay, now it makes sense. You got some traffic. Obviously you have to have some traffic, but like, what are the things you would say to a brand? Like, okay, now we're ready for CRO. I imagine some brands come to you and you're like, no, this might not be the best spend of your money right now or time, but then, so when is that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll break it down for you. In my view, anyone with less than 10,000 sessions a month, forget CRO. Put all of your effort.
Unique visitors or just, okay.
So unique visitors. So if you have less than 10,000 a month, forget CRO for now. Your predominant focus is bringing traffic to that site. Use your budget, use your time to do that. So you don't need to stick your fingers in and go laugh for the rest of this episode, but ultimately, it's not something you should be highly prioritizing right now. If you hit 10,000 visitors, for me, that's the point where you need to start looking at two things. One is best practice. And secondly, is also then looking at your more basic appreciation of some of the top line numbers. So what do I mean by that? So first of all, in terms of CRO best practice, there are tons of guys like me pulling loads of free stuff all of the internet about best practice. And it's the same kind of stuff again and again. Number one, make sure that you've got things like that, or things that aren't too far away from the things that people like me and my team talk about, number one. The second thing is that looking at your numbers from a conversion rate, average order value, a repeat purchase rate, obviously monitoring those against benchmarks is useful, but now what you need to be doing is looking at each of those by actually the source type. Because I think what tends to happen is that when you hit that kind of 10,000 mark, you're going to start to see quite a big disparity in terms of how different cohorts behave from Meta, from TikTok, from your organic feeds, from different blogs you can features on. And what you can then start doing is actually saying from a CRO point of view, right, can I actually now increase traffic from some of those sources and limit the other, so that then you don't get the net gain of your overall metrics going up? Once you get to 30,000 sessions or 30,000 visitors, this is the point when you can start using more tools. So here I would be saying using something like Clarity for your heat mapping. I mean, lots of heat mapping tools are out there. Clarity seems to got quite a bit quite now. Hotjar, obviously, people have used as well. What this is going to do is starting to show you what people are and aren't doing on the site. So ultimately, you haven't used heat mapping before. Effectively, what this does is it shows you a view of, look, number one, particular sessions that happen on the site where people have been clicking, so you can see what they're doing. And secondly, it will show you hotspots on the site where maybe people have clicked a lot, people have navigated away from the site, and start to get some ideas from that. At 50,000, that's when you can start what I would say proper CRO, in the sense of A/B testing and doing a full program. So it's 50,000 is that for me, the point at which we would say, look, it's going to be worthwhile you doing CRO from an A/B testing point of view. below that, you've got different breakpoints to start different things.
Gotcha. So before they get to that threshold, and are there any things they should be doing themselves? Like, you obviously don't want to like completely ignore it, but it's probably not worth the investing budget towards it. But are there things that they should be doing themselves prior to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you said to me, Jay, look, if any Shopify store that is out there, are there maybe 2 or 3 things that absolutely will work every time? I'm going to tell you what they are right now. Now, this is down to us, obviously, doing this with hundreds of different stores. And the first one of which here is invest in your site search. Now, even if you have a low SKU count, you will see from investing in site search that actually the things that people search for are very different to what you might interpret. Now, what it also does is, what site search is, it illuminates other areas of issues that you may have on your site. Now, let's take a client of ours, right? They were a potato chip company based in the US. They only had 6 different flavors on their site, 6 SKUs. You go, what is the point of an on-site search? Now, what we saw from on-site search was that people were putting in the name of the product and then ingredients. So what this highlights to us is that actually, if they're doing that, they can't find the information they're looking for. We look at the PDP, and what we see is that there is a whole block of text, continuous prose about the product, in which ingredients are mentioned. So off the back of that, we then say, look, let's run an A/B test whereby we use accordions to separate the different pieces of information. 18% increase in conversion for that PDP as a result of it. So that's the kind of thing that will build. The more traffic you get, you build. And look, again, the cost of good search functionality is coming down, number one. Second thing is expose search on mobile. I mean, man, if you open up get your mobile phone or your cell phone in front of you now and open up your site and go onto there, you can see a little magnifying glass in the corner and no bar across the front. This is what I'm talking about. We have done this test now, I think 30, 40 times maybe. Every time you've done that exposed search on mobile, that's increased conversion by 25 to 35%. It is an absolute game changer.
Because so moving it to the bottom, like by the thumb area, making it easy to open up the search, is that?
Not necessarily, not the bottom, at the top. So effectively, either before the header or just after the header, putting that search bar in there, getting people to the right place. Because the thing that really annoys me about people talking about CRO, they will say, you need to reduce friction, you need to reduce clicks. And I said I wasn't going to swear on this podcast, Jay, and I'm not, but it's BS. Because the thing with friction is, people would interpret that as, if you add more clicks to something, you're causing friction. Disagree. What you're doing, you need to make sure that the clicks they do have to make are meaningful and give them something that they want. So if, for example, like you said, with accordion menus, those are great because you are signposting where that person needs to go. Equally with site search, you are signposting, you're getting person to a product. That's what we're there to do. You know? That's what every single e-commerce professional should be able to do. Get the person to product. So expose search on mobile, again, massive game changer. And I would say the last one I would say that, again, everyone should definitely be looking and considering doing is also about when it comes to your subcategory visibility, making sure that is improved as much as you possibly can. So what I mean by that is that if you have, for example, in your menu, in your drop-down menu, different, obviously, subcategories in there, having visual icons associated with each of them so people can shop visually. And secondly, if possible, having sort of subcategory icons along, again, the top of the page also works very well. I guess a little bit sort of like Instagram stories style. And again, the reason I'm saying this because, again, yet again, time and time again, it works. We've done this for a casket company. We've done this for a bread company. We've done it for a drinks company, beauty, endless. But ultimately, the same thing. Get people to product, they buy it.
Interesting. It's funny because I see so many stores that if they have less than 20 SKUs, there's no search bar anywhere. And they go, why would I need a search? But I thought one of the things you might have said was because you might discover products that they are looking for, A, or B, you might find potential ways that people are spelling your product. And then maybe you can, like if there's common misspellings, you can work that into your SEO strategy or paid strategy. Like we bid on misspellings of our apps.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's definitely part of it as well. But equally, this is the thing. And look, I get very annoyed about siloed thinking in e-commerce. And if you want me to tell you a story about a dog in a moment, I certainly can, to explain my things like this. But again, look, that information can be passed to SEO team, passed to PPC team. And I say team, if it's yourself, use it for your SEO, use it for your PPC. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you, to get a little bit, I guess, tactical, like where do you start? Like, how do you know when you're working with a brand, like, are you testing everything, or is there a logical approach to you start like maybe the product page, that's the most important, or is it the home page, or what's the approach?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when we start, ultimately, the way that we work is that our lead CRO strategist will do what we would call a heuristic review of the site. Now, heuristic is a big word for saying we'll look at the site top to bottom. So she will start at page 1 and go all the way through it. She will, as she'll be going through, be noting down hypotheses, ideas, things she thinks that aren't quite right. Once that's then done, she is then taking each of those maybe 100, 120 hypotheses and corroborating those with the data. Do I have data support? Do I have data support? Do I have data support? Some of that stuff falls away. Now, at that point, you end up with typically 50 to 60, sometimes 70 items, generally the way that we work, that we get. But like, for example, if I show up at your house and I'm a realtor, who loves a realtor? No one. But look, ultimately, I'll go, Jay, you can add $200,000 to your house if you do these 50 things. And you go,
it's overwhelming.
Yeah. So we have a thing called PECT, which is effectively a scoring mechanism. So it's proof, ease, cost, time, impact. So
PECTI. Okay.
Yeah, PECTI. And ultimately what this does is this allows us to give a score for each of those and roll that up into an index. So once we've done that, we then saying to a client, right, here's your 60, 70 things, but this scored 100. This last one scored 60. Let's start at the top and let's work at the bottom. But the other thing is, like your house and like any business, it will change. As the weather changes, the roof gets worse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Same with the business. So that PECT becomes not a static list, it becomes dynamic. And when more data comes in, the reorganization of that happens as you go through time. So that's how you can get to a point where you're doing things that are meaningful and doing it in a way that is going to be most impactful as well.
And that is that done from your history of like pattern recognition that from working with other brands? So like that's a qualitative score, but based off of quantitative data in the past that you're applying. Like you're not actually doing tests at that point. Someone is assigning a score based off of previous work and knowledge, right? Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So like with the impact score, for example, that's based on looking at number one, have we done this test within this vertical niche previously? And ultimately then, what was the uplift in revenue per session off the back of doing that particular test? So it's, like I say, it's quantitatively done. And obviously that can move for different types of brands or whatever.
Gotcha. And then from there, you take the ones that, is there like the 2x2 that's like least effort, highest impact approach on stores?
Yeah, I mean, look, that kind of comes into PECT because like the ease element of that comes into that. And then obviously the time and the impact as well. But effectively what we do when we make recommendations is that they kind of fall into three pots. The one part is implementation, i.e. this thing is broken, or we've done this so many times before, we don't need to test. Just get this damn thing done. So like, for example, exposed search and mobile. We're never going to test that again. We're just going to do it.
Right, you just know.
Exactly. Other things are more exploratory, i.e. we need to do A/B testing for. It could work, it might not work. It's somewhere in the middle. Let's do an A/B test for it. And then the other ones are what we call either strategy or experimentation, i.e. when we need to go and do either things like jobs to be done surveys or dig more into NPS, do customer surveys, more of the kind of, I guess, sort of qualitative, maybe things that would have a big impact, but take more time to do. And that's how we carve it up and then prioritize off the back of it.
if I'm listening to this episode and I'm a merchant, I would love to walk away with like a couple wins. That's just my merchant hat thinking on. I was like, okay. And I know there's like, you might say like, okay, there's no easy wins, blah, blah, blah. But like, come on, what are some quick wins? You mentioned the search. Give us some of the goods. Like you're running a store. What are some things someone should do today obviously there's a big process, but like, what are the wins that you would tell them to look at right away?
Yeah, sure thing. So first of all, your call to action button, directly below that call to action button needs to be an absolute killer value prop. Now, if you look at your site and you have a home page and an about us page saying that you are made in the USA or you are using a very unique ingredient, wherever it might be, all of those brilliant things you talk about elsewhere, all over your social media, and I go to your product page and they are nowhere to be seen, put it below the damn call to action button.
Are you talking about like the micro copy right below the button?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you go to our Blend site, you will see an example from a car parts manufacturer or car parts supplier called Petronics that we work with and still do work with as well now from CRO. What we did with them was maybe a little bit more in depth in that we did a job to be done survey with their 20 highest LTV customers. And what we did is we said, look, guys, you shop with Petronics all the time. What is it that keeps coming back? And they gave very clear thing. Number one was the warranty they offer on their products. And it was also the 90-day returns policy. So all we did is we stuck those two below the call to action button. Straight away, 13% uplift.
I believe
and then AOV was up by, I believe, about 30%. But the thing is, anybody could, technically, easy. I'm a non-tech. I could go and do that right now, okay?
Yeah.
So anyone listening can go and do that. And equally as well, in the age of AI, get AI to help you with the copy. So go and do that if that is not in play. The other thing as well is, I referred to this kind of idea of visual shopping earlier on. A lot of the time, if you go to Shopify stores that maybe have not been around for as long as others, if you particularly go on mobile, you will see in terms of looking at the product images, there will be breadcrumbs or little dots or blobs below, whatever you want to freaking call them, okay? A lot of the time, what people don't realize is that you can turn those into image thumbnails. Turn those into image thumbnails if you can. Because again, what we've seen time and time again is that people will shop visually by actually being able to see what they're going to go to first and foremost. And secondly, if you can bring video into that, wow, it's just incredible. Again, not technically difficult to do. Go and get it done.
Yeah, I did an episode recently, maybe about a month ago, all about microcopy. And it's one of the things that like I think is just overlooked, and it's just that little bit of polish. It's that that little bit of hesitation when you click a button, or like every customer has a question in their head, and it can just be like adding 90-day returns underneath the button or guaranteed or something, satisfaction. Just answer one question. I'm such a believer in that. It blows my mind how many brands don't do that. Like it's the easiest thing to do. It just takes time, but.
Exactly. And I think the other thing as well that again is another easy one, which is related to this, is sharing more information earlier on about payment options and delivery. Right. Because time and time again, and you've probably heard it over the years, right, Jay? Look, a lot of people add to car, they get to the car, and then they just poof, they're gone. And then you look at it and you go, yeah, but you're selling a $25 product, and then you're charging them $15 for shipping. Yeah, but that's how much UPS are charging us. Well, okay, but maybe you need to increase the cost of your product to show that shipping isn't such a big value, because people may still pay that for it. Or you're much more open and be promoting the fact that, look, shipping is X on orders, or you gamify it. So surprises, convincing people, like you're saying, that market copy situation, really important. Secondly, don't surprise them. They don't want surprises. They want to know exactly what's going to happen, when, and how much it's going to cost them.
Yeah, and I just want to take this even one step further. Like I've seen brands, like the pushback is often, well, then my price goes up and I might lose them on the front end if I put the shipping in. I've actually seen the opposite. I've seen brands increase their price and sell more.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're making its value is like so subjective. Unless you are selling the exact same product that 100 other stores, but for most stores, they're making their own product. So it's a little bit tougher to compare, but it's better for you to have that price 100 out of 100 times of shipping, like in the cost of the product. Cause then it also makes it feel like a premium product. It's perceived more, always better to have it baked in there. And then I had this thought, and I've seen a few brands do this. Love to get your thoughts on this, but the negative surprise of of shipping at checkout is one of the biggest cause of abandonments. What about a positive surprise? Like a surprise gift and the exact, so flipping it. So not just free shipping, but getting to checkout or to cart. It's easier to do this. There's apps that do it, but like you add something to the cart and a surprise gift. And like the analogy I sometimes think about is when you go to a coffee shop and you have the punch cards, you get like buy 10 coffees and your 10th one's free. Well, nobody ever, like with a punch card, like you're not happy when you get your 10th coffee free. You just feel like you deserved it.
Yeah.
You bought 10 coffees and you're like, oh, I'll got my free coffee. Thank you. But imagine you go to Starbucks, you buy coffee there all the time, but then one day you buy a coffee and the barista is like, Adam, this one's on me today. And you're like, wow. Oh, geez. Like here's a $10 tip. I'm going to come to this Starbucks all the time. And you might post it on social media. Like you may have bought 50 coffees without getting a free one. But if you felt that you had to earn that free coffee, now you got your free coffee, there's no gratitude. There's no surprise. So like if you have a big banner on the top, that's like spend $50, get a free shaker bottle of whatever. But if you just had it, so it was a surprise. I think there's something there that it evokes positive emotion in someone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, a few years back when tote bags were like the thing that people did that with, that word's an absolute treat. I don't know the terminology in North America is the same as those sort of the Hessian style, almost like cotton bags that you get at trade shows. And people were buying them for like 10 cents a pop. And,
but they're branded. They have your...
And people went wild for it. And I know a couple of brands, not that we work with, but people that I now know. And what they will do is they will then do those surprises with last season's stock. They'll do it with, there's one company I know that is a vitamin supplements company. If they have any stock that is short dated, they'll also then do that with it. Because ultimately it's going to go and get burned in an incinerator, but you put it in there and actually they have a taste of that thing. And then they come back the next time and they go and buy the damn thing at full price.
You know what another good thing to do is with your old inventory is put them in mystery box, either upsells or giveaways.
I know a guy who's made a lot of money doing that. A lot of money, yes.
Yeah. Like it is the best. And all you have to do is put on the header, like guaranteed $30 or more value and sell the mystery box for $20. And you will sell them like crazy. We have an upsell app and it's one of the highest converting offers is a mystery box. So fun tricks. Implement one of those and you guys will be ahead. When you're running A/B tests and you have like something that doesn't go so well, like not every test is going to be great. Like, oh, we tested this and we got a winner. When it's a loss or it doesn't win, like what do you do then? How do you keep merchants from getting discouraged and like going back to saying like, you know what, I'm going to just go with my gut feel because we tested this and it didn't work and I'm going to stick with what I know. Like,
no, it's an interesting one because look, ultimately the initial things are A/B testing is working, it's a failure. But a lot of the time with A/B testing, an A/B variant test or an ABC variant test usually means that there are other scenarios that are possible that you've been thinking, you're hypothesizing it out as well. So it might be, typically when we come up with A/B testing, we tend to create clusters. And within those clusters, you might start in one particular area cluster that may work or may not work. And then you then sort of metamorphosize off the back of it. So I think the thing is, the ones that don't win, where you don't obviously get a more positive result than the current is on at the moment. And I would say this because I can see CROC, but you haven't lost because you're knowing that what you have right now is better than the other scenario you had at the moment. The key thing is that then permeates then throughout the rest of the testing you have. And there are certain things that you can learn and infer from some elements of the A/B test that may then also work in other elements of the parts of the site. So it's this whole thing, ultimately, if you're not earning, you're learning. which is a bit cheesy and cliche, but ultimately you got to take the mentality with it, because most CRO testing that happens, you will usually get a success rate anywhere between sort of 30% to 70% if you're
Yep.
very lucky. So you've got to
Yeah.
expect there's going to be some of your failure. And I think, look, this is why when you do A/B testing, you also need to be at sort of 50,000 visits a month, because you
Right.
need to be able to have that, again, the funds in your business to go, look, some of this stuff is more exploratory than others.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. At least you know that you have that validation, and it's every single thing is learning. Like, yeah. So looking a little bit into the future, what's changing in the space? AI is touching everything. It's here. I know you've got opinions on that, and you've said that AI and personalization are like some of the biggest trends right now and in the future. Like, what does good AI personalization look like? What does bad AI personalization look like on a Shopify store? And what are you seeing in the next few years, how this all plays out?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the good side of using AI, there are two things there. So I think, look, AI in general, and then in terms of the personalization piece. From an AI in general point of view, what is happening now is the doing part of what people do is becoming less valuable. Whether that is the doing of an agency, that is the doing of an individual, the creation, development skills. Unfortunately, I know there are going to be people, who are listening to our developers. The skills that are there, some of them are going to be defunct very soon, because AI will be able to do a lot of that. Ultimately now, what people need to over-index on is the thinking part and the strategic part. And that is something that AI is still not able to do that well. It can give you the starting point, but a lot of the time, the broader picture view is not quite there. So I think that's the one element. So if you're looking at AI at the moment, for me, it would be about saying, and this is what we've done in our own business, is gone and said, look, ultimately, what are all the mundane, all of the all the data input, data analysis jobs that we're doing as individuals that we don't have to do anymore? That's the first thing to eradicate. Don't try and get too smart with it. Don't try and start going to NNA and building models and God knows what and bots and this, that, and the other. Start with the simple stuff. Get that off your plate. Number one, that's going to give you more headspace to be able to focus on the more intelligent stuff. And secondly, be able to bring more intense things in. On the kind of AI personalization side, for me, this is what I was saying right at the start of the show about AOV. This is where this really comes into place. Because until now, the ability of upsell and cross-sell apps to make recommendations has usually always been on effectively your browsing. What have you looked at previously? You've looked at red dresses and they've looked at blue dresses. Let's show them a green dress. Now, obviously, though, because of what's happening with those tools, yes, you can use that browser activity. You can then match them to other data from other users who match that cohort, plus any sales data we've got, plus if they're signed to email, plus if they're on WhatsApp or SMS. And therefore, off the back of it, the recommendations that you should be giving are going to be a lot better. And I think for me, people get a little bit icky at the moment about AI try-on apps or visualization apps. But ultimately, these are going to become more commonplace. And I think any time that you have an ability to do that, the initial thing from a lot of people right now is, oh, it's gimmicky. And it's just the thing that people have to look at it. For me, what that is about, having the AI and the AR to allow you to virtually try on or see what, flooring looks like in your condo living room.
Yeah.
For me, that's about reducing your return rates, which again is another massive killer to a lot of brands in e-commerce. So there's a lot of slop out there. And I feel like in 2025, we got force-fed AI and force-fed protein. There's protein in AI and everything that we don't consume. And I think it's like, sometimes I look at apps and I'm like, do you really need to have AI in what you're doing? But on the other hand, if you think of it more smartly about it and for the core problem you're trying to fix, which usually is poor conversion rates, low AOV, what are the things that you're going to have to do that? So just take a step back, ignore the noise, and focus on the problem at hand.
Yeah. Is there any neat ways that you're using AI for on the CRO side? I don't like uploading heat maps to AI for analysis or any things like that. Or is there any ways it's been helpful? I know you definitely got to be careful with this stuff, but have you had any like wins with it?
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, the tool that I spoke about earlier on that we built, the benchmarking tool, that is created from AI.
Yeah.
Because obviously it allows us to pull data sets that otherwise would be very difficult to obtain, and equally to be able to scan sites to see on a top level what's going on. So that's, I think, the first route. I think with heat maps, we are getting there with it. We're developing something at the moment, a piece of software that will allow us to be able to do that more succinctly. The access is not quite where we need to be right now, but I think, look, in time that will come. But ultimately, the overall issue I think that we're going to have is that once we can plug into an API, which we can a lot of the time now, we can get access to a ton of data. The difficulty, though, is that for someone like me who's not technical, how can I then best tell a story with AI in a succinct way that allows me to take action? And I see a lot of people coming out with AI apps, and I'm pitched a lot of them as an agency owner and sort of involved in the e-com community in the UK. And a lot of the time, it for me feels like there is just, okay, look at all this data that we found, or look at all this that we can model. Okay, but what do we do with it? What's the step?
I feel the same way. Yeah. There's so much noise. It's like I struggle with this so much because like I tell myself that I need to block off time every week to just play with AI in some way to stay ahead. But then I wonder, like, there's a percentage of my time that I'm wasting, and it's because it's what is chasing the shiny bell and whistle or whatever the saying is versus what's actually useful. And it's like, you gotta be balanced with the approach to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, it's almost at the moment where we're in this kind of almost AI arbitrage era, because ultimately the understanding and perception of AI is very different between different groups of people. Now, if you are a brand owner listening to this and you're saying, well, AI arbitrage would mean for me, ultimately what I'm saying is, if you are someone who can interpret that information, turn that into a story, and then enact that information in a meaningful way, you're going to win. Because if you look at the take-up of AI at the moment, although like in our worlds, we talk about it all the time, the actual take-up is just a very small percentage of the population of the world. Now, if you are one of the people then is going to actually adopt it and understand it and use it, you're going to be ahead, because so many people are going, like we did a survey with our clients. We went out and we basically said, look, what are you doing with AI? What do you want to use it for? And the same thing came back every single time. We've just started playing around with ChatGPT. Now, it's good because we sit there and go, geez, they haven't really heard about Claude yet. Or they haven't really thought about all these bots that they could potentially build, blah, 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 blah. But it just does make you realize is that there's very different perceptions of what it can do and what it can't do. And there is a big opportunity for a lot of people to get ahead of the game here, purely just by understanding, interpreting some of the basic stuff that's out there right now.
Have you seen that graphic going around that shows like the population of the world?
That was in my mind when I was telling that story. Yeah. And it puts it in good context, doesn't it?
There's one dot that is like actually using it for anything more than just asking questions, or no, that has a paid account out of, I think each dot represents like 10 million people. And there's all these dots. Anyways, yeah, it is. Sometimes it's easy to feel behind on stuff. And every time you open up social media, it feels like there's like, geez, like different every week and you feel overwhelmed, but it's, as long as you're doing something with it, then you're ahead of most people. So I want to run through a few lightning round questions. I don't know if you saw them, but we've got some here that are put together specifically for your area of expertise. We used to ask the same questions to everyone, but now we try to style them a little bit. So what's the most overrated CRO tactic that merchants waste money on?
Changing button colors.
What is the highest converting Shopify product page element that most stores are missing? I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the exposed search on mobile. I mentioned earlier on. I mean, just from our own experience, every damn time.
Interesting. Yeah. What's a tool that every Shopify merchant might want to install this week? I say might, not saying should, but that might help with testing, running, or doing something for optimization. Do you know? Do you have one?
Microsoft Clarity.
Okay. That's the main one that I think that's got to be one of, like, it's interesting. I saw some report or someone put it out, like 87% or something of Shopify Plus stores have it installed. Like it's some staggeringly high number. Like it's crazy.
Numbers speak for itself, and absolutely.
I think I know the answer to this, but desktop or mobile, what do you optimize first? And I always ask guests some fun fact. And your fun fact was, you remember what you put in there?
Oh, I think, would it maybe be about Sweden?
Yeah, you're turning 40 this year. First of all, are you 40 yet, or you're turning 40?
No, in a few weeks' time. So I'm looking forward to it though, in a way.
You know what? I'm 46. When I turned 40, I remember actually feeling young, because it was like you're the young 40-year-old versus like an old 39-year-old. Like it's a new decade. So I'm
like that positioning. Yeah, that's making me feel better already, Jay.
Yeah. So you went to Sweden to take a bunch of ice baths, and you said hike around the mountains and minus 25, half, not fully naked, half naked.
No, I have snow boots, gloves, a hat, and some swim shorts on.
So the question I wanted to ask is, what's the CRO equivalent of taking an ice bath? There has to be some analogy here. There has to be like, you got to work. There's got to be something you can draw from that.
No, I mean, I saw this on, and I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to say. Now, look, when you take an ice bath, there are a couple of things that happen to your body. Number one is obviously it feels very cold. The second thing is you get this overwhelming sense of mental clarity, because effectively what's happening is one of the systems in your body is being reset through something called your vagus system, or your vagus nerve in your head. Now, for me, after I've done an ice bath, I feel clear, I feel calm, and I feel clarity. What I would say is the equivalent in CRO is calling up your 20 highest LTV customers and asking them what they like about your site, what they don't like about your site, and what would stop them in buying from you again. Speak to your customers, whether that is through NPS service, whether that is picking up the damn phone. It is so damn valuable. And I have to remind myself as well sometimes about my own business, but get the bravery to do it, and it will seriously change your world.
Amen. That is such a good way to end on. I couldn't agree more. Not only will you learn stuff, but they'll become probably a fan for life too. You reach out to them and you ask them. It's amazing what asking people for help, how that connects. So Adam, this has been incredible. I've learned a ton. You're super gracious with your time. I know it's late in the evening over there. Where do people, obviously blendcommerce.com, right? That's the site?
Yeah, fantastic. So, blendcommerce.com. And if you want to check out that benchmarking, it's just called CRO Benchmarks. Top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see that. Okay. I also am quite active on LinkedIn, so Adam Pearce, P-A-R-C-E. And if anyone is listening to this in the UK, I also run an event called Ecom Collab Club, which happens once a month in London. We have about 150, 160 people each month talking about all kinds of things.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I just want to close off by saying to those listening, if you got value from this, make sure you connect with Adam, like his content, engage with him, tell him on social media that you heard the episode, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We are just over 85,000 subscribers now. It's awesome. We're having a lot of fun doing this. I'm super thankful to guys like Adam that just come and freely share their information when there's a million other things he could be doing, but this takes time and energy. So hit subscribe, give it a like. It means a lot. And make sure you connect with Adam and check out Blend Commerce, because they're doing great things. Thanks so much for coming on, Adam.
Appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for having me.